morning. I'm Bill Doherty, and I want to welcome the viewers to another edition of Bill's Bullpen. Bill's Bullpen is a program that's intended to give folks an idea of what's going on in our area and to get some sense of not only what we do, but what's going on. So anyway, with me today I have J.R. Mell, who is the
Regional Director
for the Big Brothers and Big Sisters program. Welcome.
I am. Well, thank you so much for having me on, Bill. It's been an honor to be the Regional Director for the past 8 years here.
Where does time go? Because when we were chatting ahead of time, we're talking about people that we've known and other programs that you've been in, and there's nothing more important than taking some time to, let's say, to support what I would call the needs in the community.
Yeah.
And with your program and other programs that that deal with support kinds of activities, what's the significant difference between Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and let's say the WISE program and the Big Brothers program, and the boys clubs and girls clubs?
Yeah.
What's the, tell me how you fit into all of that.
Absolutely. So I'd say our program's even though we're confused a lot of times specifically with Boys and Girls Club, our program is fundamentally different in that, with a Y, Boys and Girls Club, places like that, that's a four-wall program where kids come to a facility for a specific period of time. With Big Brothers, Big Sisters, if people come to our office, they'll find about 8 of our staff members and no kids running around. Our program takes place with that child's mentor out in the community a few hours each time, 2 to 3 times a month they'll see their mentor. So I'd say fundamentally the difference is there in that our program is strictly out in the community, and club or a Y would be within a 4-wall.
Okay, so in designing how this puzzle fits together, how do you identify someone who is a prospect for this program?
Yeah, so in terms of the kids who are in our program? Yeah, so
it is the mentor is designed to help be directed with a kid.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So the kids come to us from many different avenues, but the biggest one is our partnerships with the schools. So we partner with every school on the Cape, every school on the islands, every school in Plymouth, Wareham, Onset. That's our entire footprint. We'll work primarily with guidance departments, social workers, and they're the ones who are the first eyes on the kids every day. And they see kids who, might be struggling a little bit academically, who are having challenges at home, who may come from an under-resourced household where there's something that our program could benefit that child by having that additional positive adult in their corner. So guidance counselors, therapists, social workers, anyone in the school is able to refer to our program and let the parent know, hey, you should check out this program for your child. I really think it could benefit them. That's our first line as to where our kids come from.
Well, I'll reinforce that by saying when I did a fair amount of substitute teaching over the years, and whenever I was in monitoring in-school suspension, I found that many times kids were acting out because it was the only safe place that they could open their mouth without getting a crap kicked out of them. And I found that they would ventilate things in that, and at the end, I wouldn't say that it would be universal calm, but at least you could see there was a certain amount of relief because they could get that out. Now, the next step, which would be the monitoring part, I wasn't doing that.
And I'd say our second way that kids come to us is really through word of mouth from other parents. They'll see their child's friend having this, really successful mentoring friendship, and a lot of, those potential behaviors or just that acting out completely change. And they'll say, what happened, for lack of a better term? And a lot of the parents will say, well, actually, Tommy's big brother's been phenomenal for him and has really helped him to feel supported, has given him the extra attention he needed, X, Y, and Z. So our second way kids come to us is word of mouth. And then I'd say the third way is just general awareness about our program. Every time we do a big volunteer push or a volunteer drive, we'll see our number of kids that are referred to us during that month go up significantly, strictly because our name and our brand is out there.
Well, I think it's very important to have your brand out there. And I do remember that my son actually benefited from that program. Because I remember he had a mentor when he was in like 7th or 8th grade. I never met him.
Yeah.
But he was in my son's life.
Yeah.
Now, what happened for my son, after that was he went to my high school. I went to BC High, and then he went to he got accepted to Dartmouth.
Okay.
Okay, so he went Ivy, and now he's a commercial lender and senior vice president, in Bank of America.
Yeah.
So I can point out that even though we were living in what I would call an authentic middle class credential community like Wellesley, okay, that the need was there, and he was fortunate enough that. And I don't know how the connection was made, but it did happen. It was very helpful.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the common misconceptions about about a mentoring program too, is that it only serves a specific subset of kids, right? And that kids have to be coming from these super under-resourced households, have to be coming from these single-parent households. If you look at our data, yes, there's some trends there, but our program is designed to establish, if there's a need for that kid to have a mentor, like, we will meet that need regardless of the socioeconomic background.
Well, and I think that's an important point to get across to people, because there's that business of I don't want to associate with poor people. I don't want to think that people in poverty. I don't want to. But the other part is what I call the false ego opinion that demonstrates a certain amount of weakness on my part. And we all know from our psychology courses that if you are, let's say, strong enough to know when you need help and ask for it, then then that's an indication of what I'd call real intelligence.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the things that we do a lot in our volunteer screening and our process our volunteers go to.
Talk a little bit about that, about how you do screen, because I know that, when I was a substitute teacher, I had to go through a query, and at the same time I was running for office a couple of times, and I used to say, I'm the only one that's ever actually been cleared by the cops to run.
Yeah, so, the thing that I like to say is we're open to pretty much anybody coming in to explore the opportunity. There is a process that our volunteers have to go through. There are a few requirements to be
talk a little bit about
be a
that.
Volunteer. So you have to be a minimum of 18 to be a volunteer. There's no maximum age, which people are kind of shocked about. Our oldest volunteer right now is 81 on Martha's Vineyard.
A child, I'm 86.
Exactly, it's perfect. And the activities he does with his little make me feel tired in my 40s, to be perfectly honest. You do have to commit to a minimum of 1 year, so you can't have plans to move off Cape or move to the other end of the Cape. And we ask you to see that child 2 to 3 times a month during that 1 year process. Those are the bare minimums. If you're able to meet that, we say, all right, let's go through the background checks. But more importantly, come in and meet with a member of our team. We do a 1 hour interview to get to know you. We want to make sure that we're getting to know your background, your likes, your interests, and hobbies, because in order to have a really strong mentoring friendship, you have to have something to base that off of. And so in that process of going through everything, checking references, etc., we're trying to make sure that this is the right volunteer opportunity for you. Because some people do come to us and have one conception of what Big Brothers Big Sisters is, and the reality is once they get in through the interview process, they're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. I had this total misconception, and I don't think this is the right volunteer opportunity for me. Which is fine for us, because we don't want to disappoint a kid, set them up with a mentor, and then that mentor is not able to complete that minimum of 1 year. So there is some behind the scenes that goes on with us, for sure.
Okay, well, I know that in some programs that support, let's say, elderly and nursing homes, that there is that element of you have to commit to a period of time, because people have that emotional, let's say, involvement and expectation. And as I used to handle complaints in one of my jobs, and one of the things you learn from that is that people get upset because of miscommunication, unrealized expectation, self-deception, and thwarted intention. So the idea is that if you have if you build up an expectation, things are worse at the end if that expectation, is not met.
Exactly, and that's one of the things we try to screen for in the volunteer process is ensuring you can make that minimum commitment. The unique thing about our volunteer opportunity is, and I hear this from almost every single one of our bigs, is they feel that they get like 3 times what they put into it. It's one of the most impactful volunteer opportunities where your presence and your time is really what that kid is looking for, and to have it feel like you're getting more out of it than you're putting in is super rewarding for you. But we know from our research too that if we can't keep that mentoring friendship for at least that year, we're actually doing unintentional harm to that child. And so that's why we're pretty thorough in our screening process.
When we talk about kids in terms of age, what is a good age for a mentor to be connected with a kid, and what is the aging out? Yeah,
that's a great question, and one we get very frequently. So we take kids into our program between the age of 7 to 12, and I asterisk the 12 because the few years of COVID have had some detrimental impacts for kids who may be 14 but are actually presenting as if they're 12. So towards that upper age, we'll skew to 14 every now and then if it makes sense for that kid. So that's at the point of enrollment when they can come to our program, get signed up. And once they're matched with a big brother or big sister, they can stay in our program up till 18 until they graduate high school. Or we even have some we call them matches when a big and a little are connected. We have some matches that are continued to be supported into their college years if it makes sense. I'll say the majority of our bigs and littles, if we do a really great job matching them when they're ages like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we get them matched by the time they're in their teens. If our program has worked like we want it to work, the kid probably has a larger social circle than they did. They probably have better peer-to-peer relationships. They're probably involved in a lot of things too. So what we find is that because that kid as a teenager is so busy, even though they're big still in their corner, they might not meet our program requirements of seeing each other 2 to 3 times a month. And I personally lived this in my own match experience through the agency where my little became a teenager and he was so busy, like we'd see each other once a month, grab dinner, catch up, but we weren't meeting the program's requirements. So what we tend to do is when they get towards that point, we'll graduate them out of our program because they're so successful, and that allows us to free up our staff to really focus on those new matches that are just starting out to offer them support.
Well, one of the things I noticed with my son was that when he was in high school, I was working in Quincy, so I was driving from Wellesley to Quincy.
Okay.
And so I was dropping him off at school, but traffic and blah, blah, blah. So he had enough self-confidence to say to me, I think I can make this on my own. So I didn't attribute that directly to that, but it's how do you develop self-confidence in a kid so he can speak up to what his needs are to the people that are essentially making that judgment as to whether or not, let's say, to support it. But so I've always been convinced that the way you grow up is that you can express your opinion without fear of getting, let's say, either criticized or getting, let's say, or getting beaten up because you've destroyed, let's say, attacked the ego of the person that's your parent.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that.
So I think for our program, right? I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that self-confidence thing, and confidence is one of the cornerstones of our program. As you look at what we call the 6 C's of youth development. That's what our program is grounded in.
What are those?
So it's character, confidence, caring, competency, and I'm going to forget the other 2. Curiosity. And there's a last one that I'm probably going to have to phone that one in on because we just added it recently. And I should know it. But those 6 C's are what we really ground our program on and what we're looking for. A mentor can help with that child. So we're literally at the point of enrollment doing these, what we call scales of where are you in these 6 C's, and then what activities can a mentor do to help you build your confidence, to help you build your caring or your curiosity. And we're kind of behind the scenes scripting our support to encourage outings. Like, you know, we have some of our bigs and littles, we have a partnership where they can go to the ropes course. And so, you know, you think of a ropes course, like for a kid who might be, you know, not too confident about themselves, to have a big kind of show them how to do that, them take the first steps to say, oh, I can do this, and then to work together.
Pretty tough. I mean, I think the first time I was exposed to it, I was wearing a funny green suit, you know, in the Army, you know.
I mean, or it could be something as simple as riding a bike, or, you know, when my little got his first car, I taught him how to change his oil, and it was something he wanted to learn, but he didn't have that confidence to do. So I think by showing and by seeing someone who has the skills to do it, it imparts within that child that, hey, I have the confidence to do this. I have the confidence to, because I've done this or I've done this with my mentor, I can tell my dad, like, I can do this, you know? And you feel there's something when a kid feels like they can stand on their own a little bit too, in a thoughtful, respectful way to say, actually, here's what I think. And we see a lot of that being built by having those one-to-one mentoring relationships through our program.
So where are you on the Cape?
Yeah. So,
by the way, you have a footprint that that goes to Plymouth.
We do.
Okay. So where physically are you?
Our physical office is in Main Street, Hyannis. We're directly next to the Brazilian Grill. We share a driveway with them. That's usually the point of reference for most people on Cape Cod.
Well, but the way the Brazilians prepare steak, is quite a temptation to go next door.
Believe me, it was one of the biggest challenges when I started there, because they start cooking around 9:30, and my office overlooks their kitchen, actually.
Okay, and at what time does your office open?
Yeah, so we're open 9 to 5, but we don't necessarily work traditional schedules. We're doing a really good job if our team is out in the community at either different events, things like that. So the thing that I tell most people is, if you want to schedule a time to come see us, please either shoot us an email, give us a phone call first so we can make sure someone's in the office.
And what is your phone?
Yeah, so our phone's 508-771-5150. You can also find us online at capebigs.org. Capebigs.org.
Bigs.
Yep.
B-I-G-S.
B-I-G-S, yes.
Girls. How did you get to Bigs?
Well, big brothers, big sisters.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, so we
silly me.
We kind of worked with our marketing team and said, what's a web address that people could just kind of remember? And so Cape and Islands, we shortened it to Cape. We're big brothers, big sisters. We shortened it to Bigs. So capebigs.org was born.
Okay, now, you're here today on a program, and it'll go out because cable access needs a lot of content, so this will run a couple of times. But what else are you doing as far as getting out to promote your program?
Yeah, I'd say, well, the biggest thing is actually tonight. We have a big event in partnership with Cape Cod Beer called Celebration of Mentoring. People can come down, learn about us, celebrate our 350 plus bigs that are currently supporting a kid across the Cape and Islands.
No kidding.
Yep. They can learn about the 21 kids who are currently waiting for a mentor in Bourne.
21 kids, folks hear that.
Yeah, 21 right in Bourne. The majority are boys who are waiting. Our program definitely sees a bigger need for male volunteers than anything else. We're working on another partnership with Cape Cod Young Professionals. We'll be at Bad Martha in Falmouth at their brewery. Launching a campaign we're calling Erase the Wait for year 2, where we seek to challenge ourselves and the community to erase the wait for the number of kids who are on our complete wait list at that point in time.
Okay, so 21 kids in Bourne on a wait list. What about the across the whole of Barnstable County?
So all of Barnstable County right now, we have, or I should say Barnstable and the islands and Plymouth. We have a total of 72 kids right now.
Wow.
That are waiting for a big brother or big sister.
Is there any concentration of where those kids are?
UpperCape.
Upper
Our
Cape.
biggest need right now are the towns of Bourne, Falmouth, and Mashpee.
Sounds like, and that's where most of the people who live on Cape do that.
Yes.
Because of the 15 towns, once you get past Barnstable, it kind of thins out until you get to Provincetown.
It does, and we've seen this interesting dynamic since COVID, where the number of volunteers who are signing up for our program and coming to our program from the lower and outer Cape have nearly eliminated the wait list in that area. And I think you hear a lot about people who've either taken early retirement, made their second home their primary home. Our agency can back that data up because our wait list has been cleared several times for the lower and outer Cape.
Oh, that's great.
It is.
That's great news.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing this?
So Big Brothers Big Sisters has been in existence. We're celebrating our 50th year this year. We were founded in 1974.
Why did I have the feeling it's been around longer?
So the national agency has been around much longer.
I see.
They've been around since I think they were incorporated in 1901, if I have it correctly. They were formed a little bit before that, but their incorporation was 1901. Each chapter is under the auspices of Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. So we were formed here on the Cape in 1974.
Okay. 1974. If you were to say or describe, and maybe we've talked a little bit about this before, but how would you describe what would be the attitude and the, what I'd call, how would you want a volunteer to present as far as coming to you? What represent, and I'm sure it goes across a spectrum, but what should people, when they're doing their self-evaluation, what should they consider before they approach you?
I absolutely love that question because the answer usually surprises most people. Our absolute best volunteers are the ones who have thought about it in the past, they're on the fence about it, and they're like, I don't know if I have anything to offer a kid. I know those three things sound like you wouldn't make a great volunteer, but you actually make the best volunteer in our program because you're coming to our program without a ton of preconceived, thoughts or expectations. You're not coming in with this huge charge of, I'm here to change a kid's life and we're gonna do it this way and my way. If you're able to come in, meet a kid where they're at, spend some time with them 2 to 3 times a month doing activities you already enjoy, that's like the key to our program, you're going to be a perfect volunteer with us.
It sounds like what a divorced father would do.
I mean, I can't speak to that necessarily.
and neither can I, since I've never been divorced.
I think it's one of those volunteer opportunities for people who have considered it, that they just have to take that step. And I mean, I lived that in my own volunteer experience where someone had approached me several times before I finally signed up. And this was well before I worked for the agency. I had just moved back from college and I finally took that leap and signed up. And I remember the kid I was matched with, I was matched with him when he was 6. He's 22 now. He still lives on Cape. I'm still in touch with him. He called me last night to tell me about his new apartment. But I just remember finally getting over that. I have nothing to offer. What am I going to do with a kid? And the program made it really easy of, what do you like to do? Well, every summer, if I could live on my boat and fish every day, I would. So the kid they matched me with loved to fish, loved stuff outdoors. And it was just like, okay, I'm already doing this stuff. I'm just bringing this kid along with me twice a month. And, you form the relationship off of that. And then it builds. You're sometimes offering advice. He's able to call you with questions. It just became a thing that I truly enjoyed as a volunteer. And then, fast forward a million years later, and here I am leading the agency. So just one of those things. You never know where it's going to go.
Where did you go to school?
So I grew up here on the Cape Cod. Went to Mashpee schools. I went to Falmouth. Mashpee didn't have a high school. It was very small at the time.
Yeah. I've been here that long, yeah.
Graduated, I went to Bridgewater State. I moved back here in 2003 and started my career, as I'll say, in the nonprofit sector by accident.
Some kids sometimes learn, want some direction to how to become a helping professional. What kind of guidance would you give a kid that was, let's say, pointing himself to that kind of a career?
Yeah, I would say to explore it, right? You have to, when you're getting to that age, and this is what I encourage my little of, you know, you're looking for your next steps. Explore what you like to do, find things that you like to do, and figure out if your work ethic matches their culture. That's such a big thing these days.
You know, I used to say that politicians should be defined by, by a couple of things, which is intelligence, a good work ethic, and a good heart.
Yeah.
And I think that might apply to this as well.
Yeah, I would say absolutely.
Yeah.
In any nonprofit sector, you have to love the work that you do. You have to stay connected to your mission somehow, and it has to put a smile on your face at the end of the day.
Okay. Now, believe it or not, we're coming to the end of all of this.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Okay, I told you that. Okay. And so, what would be one of the things you would want to be as a takeaway from this program?
I would say if you're watching this and you're really making to look a difference, or you're really looking to make a difference, potentially with our program or any other volunteer opportunity, check out our website first, capebigs.org. You can start the process on there, and you can go through, you can read some of the real life mentoring stories of people who are actually on the Cape living this. But I would leave everyone with this final thought of a few hours twice a month might not seem like a lot to you who's watching this, but for a kid who's on our wait list right now, that makes all the difference in the world. And I'd really encourage people to think about that.
Well, I can't say enough about the idea that all of us not only enjoy, but need to have attention.
Yeah.
We sometimes are able to ventilate the things that are bothering us, but a lot of times you do want somebody to respond to what what your needs are, without being made to feel that you're somehow less, than adequate.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is that real strength comes from recognizing if you need help, being able to ask for it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So with that, I want to thank you for coming. I think we've learned a lot about what your program is all about, and that I hope that people will, and for the last time, where do they go?
capebigs.org.
Oh, and that's on the internet, and the phone number?
508-771-5150.
Okay, and with that, I want to thank J.R. Mell for coming on and talking a little bit about the Bigs, big sisters, big brothers, and hope that maybe a couple of people out there who could recognize that, here in Bourne, there's 21 kids that could use some help, and across the Cape, there's 72 right now. So get in there, be helpful, and as we are all taught, we're not here for ourselves. We're supposed to be here for others. So with that, I want to thank my guest, and I want to thank the viewers for spending the time to find out more about this program. This has been a production of Bourne TV.